Hey everybody! Welcome to a Cricut craft tutorial. Today we're doing something a little different. As you can see, you see me, hi, and you see my screen. We're going to do a quick Q&A and just answer some of the questions you guys have been asking about some different items. So I've written them down here, and I'm going to apologize if you hear some bell in the background because this little brat wants to be involved today. This is Magnolia. She is our new kitten. She is a pain, and she is very sweet. She is almost 5 months old. So she's, of course, very playful. So we'll hopefully try to keep her bell to a minimum. So let's get started. The first question that I was asked was about faux leather on the Explorer. I do have a tutorial, which I'll link below. And all these things I do have tutorials on, so I'm going to link them below for you guys. To cut it on your Explorer, I'm just going to quickly just bring up a shape just so I can go to the Make It screen and show you. You're going to click Make It on whatever you're doing. Now, I have a Maker, so my screen is slightly different. But on your Explorer, turn your Explorer to the custom setting, which is all the way to the left. And you're going to bring up your materials. Now, it'll do something similar to this where it brings up like a big, long list of materials. Browse all of your materials, and you're going to go to the leather category. Now, I see they have faux leather, paper thin. That's not working for me. Faux suede. They've got a couple different options. I will say do a test cut before you try to cut something else out, something big. Always do just like a small square, a circle, or whatever, just to test it, because each machine does tend to be slightly different, and each leather can be different. For me, the faux suede with the deep cut blade worked. I could not get it to cut with my fine point blade no matter how hard I tried, but the deep cut blade worked, and the deep cut blade you can get pretty inexpensively on Amazon. I will link one below. So that's pretty much the Explorer Air. It's pretty easy. You can do that on both the Air series. Obviously, you can cut leather on your Maker. So let's get out of this one real quick. And the next thing that I was asked was how to do multiple vinyl colors on one mat. So I'm just going to do real quick, I'm just going to add another shape here and another shape. Let's just pick a couple shapes. We'll just do these ones. So let's say we want to do our circle in yellow, and our diamond in pink, and our triangle in blue. So when you go to make it, and we'll just click that really quick, it's going to give you 3 different mats, and that's kind of a pain in the butt, right guys? So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can cut out a couple squares of vinyl for the sizes of your shapes that you need, and you can go to each mat and edit them, and just move your shapes around so that you can cut them on your mat. You'll just place your squares of vinyl, like you'd put the circle square right here, you'd put the diamond square of vinyl right here, you'd put the triangle square of vinyl right there, and you just unload and reload your mat. So that's one way. Or what you can do is take all of them, and I do it this way just to make it faster, but you select them all, click attach, and then I'm going to detach them. What that does is it makes them all one color, and then all you got to do is click on Make It, and you move them around on your mat to where you're going to have the color that matches up to them. So you can move them anywhere you want to stick your vinyl. But again, you're just going to cut the size vinyl you need in a small square or whatever shape. And then you're going to place it on your mat and line it up with the grid. So that's one easy way to do it. You don't have to unload your mat, reload your mat, nothing. Just stick it in. It'll cut all of them on the right colors. Just make sure you remember what shape you want, what color. So that's a couple different ways to do that, but you've got some options there. So let's get rid of these guys. We'll just get rid of all of them. The next thing that we want to learn about, you guys asked about writing fonts. So what a writing font is, it's considered a single line font. Most of what you'll find on the websites like DaFont, 1001 Fonts, Font Squirrel, those are going to be what's called a double line font, which means it will outline. However, there are workarounds for some of these, and I'm going to put a video out about them because it's more of a intense question than I think we can answer within a Q&A. However, I'll give you a little bit of some insight on this. So let's just open up some text. We'll just write hello. I've already got this opened into one of the writings, one of the fonts that isn't technically, oh my goodness, I can't grab it. That isn't really a writing font. So you see here that it's thinner font, and I'm sorry, my dog's a jerk. She barks. When I go to tell it to write, it's not filled in. But if you're writing in a smaller scale, you'll see that as you shrink it down, it's going to really look filled in. there's going to be very little question that it's a filled-in font. So if you're going to make them real big, I would say for now, until we get that other video, just use the Cricut font. But to find a Cricut writing font, you go to Cricut, you click filter, and you go to writing. And it's going to give you all these different styles that you can choose from. So we'll just pick one, whatever. And you'll see that, see how thin it is? That's how it's going to write it out. But if you change it to a cut font, look at how different it looks. Let's see. Oh, this one won't let me do it. But yeah, if you do a writing font, it is a single line font. So you can, there are workarounds with thicker markers. You can always fill them in by yourself. But like I said, this is a short video, so I don't want to go into too much, but we will have a video soon on different fonts that you can do and how to kind of work around that outline. The next question that we have is, what type of vinyl? This is a great question, guys, because we see this all the time, and there are so many different kinds of vinyl. So you'll hear things like people calling it 631, 651, HTV, iron-on, permanent, removable. So the number system is just for Oracal brand. You won't see that on any other of the vinyls. So you need to look for something called, if you're looking for something for like glasses and things like that, it's permanent vinyl. But let's start with the removable. Removable being 631 or most of Cricut vinyl, unless it's a premium vinyl. That stuff is good for things that won't be handled a lot or walls. So if you're going to do a an ornament, you could use removable vinyl. You're not going to handle it a ton. It's just going to hang on the tree and look really pretty. You're going to put a decal on your wall, removable vinyl. It's not good for car windows, things like that. It's great for if you're going to do some holiday decorations that you want to take down off of your home windows. Perfect for that. Then your next type is permanent adhesive vinyl, which is your Oracal 651, your Cricut Premiums. Starcraft's got a couple that there's one called Magic. With that, you can put that on glass, picture frames, car windows, canvases. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. The possibilities with the permanent vinyl are pretty endless. Just keep in mind, it's not so much like permanent, you'll never get it off. It's permanent in the fact that it will be harder to take off. But it can come off. It's not impossible. So keep that in mind. If you ever want to switch it out, you just pick it off or peel it off with a razor blade. Now, somebody did mention, well, when do we epoxy? You epoxy if you're going to use removable vinyl on a cup, like Cricut holographic vinyl. It's not permanent, so you need to epoxy over that, or it will fall off of your cup. This right here is an epoxy glitter cup. Please do not ask me for a tutorial. This was absolutely, this is not even close to good. I'm still working on it, so I will try to eventually get good enough, but it's really bumpy. You just can't tell. So what I used was Starcraft Magic Deceit. This is a permanent vinyl. However, because I used it with the epoxy, it really doesn't matter. I could have used anything, and obviously the glitter. But epoxy is it's a product that you need to really do some research before starting. It can be pretty pricey to get into. You need a cup turner, gloves, cups, spin, all sorts of things. So lots of craziness. But I'm hoping to eventually be good enough. But in the meantime, just search epoxy cups on YouTube. There are, just tons and tons of tutorials. The next type of vinyl we have is HTV or iron-on. Those are the same thing. It stands for heat transfer vinyl. And what heat transfer vinyl is, it means that their adhesive is heat and pressure activated. So you can use heat transfer vinyl on all your fabrics, that type of stuff. But you can also use it on cups and wood, canvas. I wouldn't use it on things that are plastic because of the amount of heat that it does take, but it does work really well on lots of different surfaces. So if you have a cup and you have a specific color vinyl that you want and it's only available in HTV, it can be done. It will hold up pretty well, just like a permanent vinyl. It does feel a little bit flatter as well because it's not as thick as the permanent adhesive vinyl. HTV comes in all sorts of different types. You can get printable. You can get already printed. You can get just a regular solid color, glitter, holographic, electric. There's just hundreds of options. Printable is going to be different. You'll want to make sure that you look at not only what type of printer you have for it, but also what type of item you're doing to press it with. If you have a laser jet printer, make sure you look, because most of this printable vinyl is for inkjet printers. That's just something that I've noticed a lot of product is inkjet compatible, and it's hard to find a laser printer compatible stuff. So inkjet printers are pretty inexpensive. I got mine for $30 and it works great. Ink for it's not super expensive, so that's really nice. The printable HTV, I do have one tutorial. I'm going to do some more, but the one tutorial is for the Avery Dark. I really like it. It's held up pretty well to several washes, so I'm definitely a fan, especially if you don't, if you're just starting to get into it. It's a great beginner product. So our next question that we got was stencil tips. Stenciling is something that definitely is a skill, and I see a lot of people making several mistakes. First mistake I see is the wrong brush. The second mistake I see is the wrong, or too much paint. So people are trying to use a sponge brush. All that sponge brush does is hold too much paint. So what you want to use is a brush like this. This is a stencil brush by Martha Stewart. I haven't washed it, so ignore the fact that it's dirty. But you can see that it has bristles, just like a regular brush, and it does not hold a ton of paint. What you want to do is never wipe on your paint on a stencil. Always dab it and light layers. So the other thing I see people doing wrong is they use the wrong material to make the stencil with. Contact paper and 631 vinyl, things like that, are really not the best choice to do them with, because if they get wet, they'll lift. So even if you get just the teeniest little bit of paint under one of them, it's going to lift and make your paint bleed worse. It also doesn't adhere really great to your wood or whatever you're painting on, so you want to keep that in mind as well. I always use a 651 vinyl, and I always do it in the way that I am very meticulous, and I do it slowly. So when I apply my vinyl, I make sure to press all the way around it with a squeegee long before I take it off. As you peel your transfer tape, peel it very, very slowly, and with your finger, go along the edges of all of your letters or whatever you're stenciling. Once you've taken your transfer tape off, go back around with your finger. It's only really important on the edges of your letters that there are no bubbles. Make sure whatever you are stenciling on is a fairly smooth piece. If it is rough, you will have bleeding. Especially on things, even like the canvases, they're not fully flat. They have fibers. They bleed. I have yet to get a perfect stencil on a canvas. Now the Mod Podge thing, honest to God, it is completely unnecessary. Even if you Mod Podge it, if your vinyl is not fully down correctly, it will bleed, because if the Mod Podge gets under it, so will your paint. So keep that in mind. Do light layers. I do one layer first of very, very light paint. I come back and let it dry for about a minute or two, depending on the paint. Make sure you read the type of paint you're using. If it is a paint that dries quickly, 1 to 2 minutes. If it's one that takes a little longer, you can probably go 5. I go back through and I do a second layer, pretty light still. If it is still not completely to the point I want it, I will do a third layer. As soon as I have it as dark as I want that paint, I peel up my vinyl. Now, let this be said, if you do it on wood, peel against the grain. So if your grain is this direction, up and down, peel your vinyl this way. If your grain is this way, peel your vinyl the opposite way. What that does is it helps keep your wood grain from pulling up, and that can happen, especially if you're using a softer wood. A lot of those wooden rounds from Home Depot, they will peel up a bit. So make sure that you do that. Now I'm going to put some stencil videos down below in the comments because I have done several. I've got another one coming out with some chalkboard paint, which is so cute. So I can't wait to show you guys that one. That's going to be like a reverse. The next question we had was about using swirls with your letters or your fonts. So what I have is a program, and it's called High Logic Main Type. So it's right here, this big F with the magnifying glass. So we'll open that really quick. Hang on one second here. It takes a second to open. So what it's going to do, we're going to just use our free edition. We don't need it for anything crazy. Let me go back to Design Space, and I'm just going to type in something. I don't know. Let's just go with that. Let's change our font really quick so that you can actually read it. clear my filter. Let's find a font that I know has some extra doodads on it. Let's go with Yesy. That one's got some fun stuff. Okay, so we'll go with Yesy and we'll fix this so that you can actually read it. Okay. Oh boy, I am just not typing well today. All right, there we go. Hello. Let's make it bigger so you guys can see it. So obviously we have this little swirl, but if you want to see what else is available, come over to this main type. This is the 8.0 free edition. And what you're going to do is find Yesy in your list of fonts. So just scroll all the way down because it's a Y. So it's going to be way down here. So here's Yesy. And what it does is it shows you over here in the side all of your, whoops, and then of course I scrolled the wrong spot, but it shows you all of your different characters. So let's scroll up a little bit. So this and right here, I have no idea how to make it because the and sign doesn't do it. But what you can do is right click, copy to clipboard, go back over to your design space, and just paste it. And you're going to end up with the and sign. Now this one does just work with the and sign, but there are other fonts that don't. So let's go to one I know for sure that's great with this. I have the Samantha font, so let's just use the Samantha font so I can show you guys really quick. So here's our Samantha font. Now it's boring. Ugh. How do we get all those fun swirls? Well, come over here to your main type, which is really fun. I'm telling you. You guys will see so much fun stuff. Like here's Starfish. This one's a really pretty font, but if you go scroll through, you can see got a few little extra doodads here and there. But we're going to find Samantha real quick. And this is a really nice, easy way to do this. And this shows you pretty much everything available with all of your fonts. So I'm using Samantha Upright Regular. And we are going to look through over here. Whoops, and we need to change this, make sure it is on Basic Latin. So we're going to go through here, and you're going to look at all of your different, I think I have it on the wrong setting. I keep scrolling past Basic Latin. It needs to be on this. You're going to scroll through, and you'll find all of your fun little swirls and different things. So let's just go down to the H. We'll find a fun H. I went past the H's. Let's find us a fun H. So we'll use this one. So again, right click, copy to clipboard, bring it over here, and replace the H. Just sometimes the paste works, sometimes it doesn't. I use Control V and apparently it didn't want to work that time. So we'll just click paste. And of course it took all my other writing away, but whatever. You get the idea. All you have to do is just use that main type, and it does work for just about every font. So even if you have like one that you got for free, it'll show you if you have any extra doodads that you can use. So we'll go up and find Magnolia Sky really quick. So here's Magnolia Sky. And you can just scroll right through and see the M. You get an extra doodad with the M. You get an extra doodad with the Y. And you can actually change this so you can see it better. I don't know why it's not showing you guys the whole thing. It's just being a pain today. Whatever. But you can see that there's all sorts of, you know, like you've got this fancy A. Let's see. This zoom is making me annoyed. Usually I can get it to show you the whole thing, but it's just being a pain. But you see all your little special characters that you get in Magnolia Sky, which is really nice. It's super easy to use, honestly, guys. Super, super easy. And I don't know why this thing keeps changing from what I have it set to, but it does. At the top, just make sure you do have it to Basic Latin. It'll show you everything you get. Like this S is fancy. There's fancy E's. So yeah, that's kind of how you can do this. You can also look in your character map, but it's just not going to show you as much, and it's a little bit harder to copy and paste from. So that's basically all there is to it. Now, if you change it to like different things, you can maybe find some other things. So up here, you can play with this and see if there's anything else in here that you can use. But most of the time, they're all the same. So that's how you can use some of your different swirls and things with your fonts. Somebody asked about cardstock. Honest to God, guys, all cardstock, it just depends on what you're doing with it. I've not found a brand that is better than another. When I do paper flowers, I do like the Recollections from Michael's, the kind that comes in the 8.5 by 11, because it's solid core. That's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. Your different cardstocks, you have solid core and then you have white core. The white core, you're going to see the white edging if you cut it. So make sure you kind of look at that. But honestly, with cardstock, it's kind of hit or miss. Depends on what you're doing. If you're doing something with an intricate cut, a thicker, heavier cardstock will hold the cut better. If you're doing something with just like a circle, you could pretty much do any kind that you want. Simple cuts on thinner stuff, the intricate stuff on a thin cardstock probably isn't going to work. Or it's at least going to shred it a little bit. So keep that in mind when you do cardstock. But cardstock, it's just kind of whatever you're doing with it. Someone else asked about like SVGs and how to convert. I would love to tell you that it's an easy task. It's not. There is a learning curve. My favorite program is Inkscape. It would take me a long time to make you guys a tutorial on how to do them. If you're looking for tutorials, TroyTube, he's awesome. He runs 651 vinyl. I always recommend him for Inkscape tutorials. His are great. They're easy to understand, and that's how I learned. But I'm just not comfortable teaching you guys yet because I don't know all the tips and tricks. But a lot of people say, oh, you just pick SVG and that type of stuff. It's all great, but they're not true SVGs. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. So an SVG just gives you like a really smooth line to cut on. So when you go in and like clean up a picture versus like I'll show you here. So some of this is just cleaned up pictures. So like this one is just a cleaned up picture, whereas this one is an SVG. So let's see if we can kind of look at them. So this one right here is an SVG that I created. This is available in my Etsy store. It's for a sunflower. But this one is just a cleaned up JPEG. Now let's see if we can make it big so you guys can see this a little bit better. Try to make it big, 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 big. Let's see. See these lines and how jaggedy they are? While in the grand scheme of things, it's not really going to affect your cut. If you have a decently clean image, you're going to get a better cut off of a true SVG. So these ones have nice clean lines. I understand right now they don't look like it because of the black line around them, but they do. This is a true SVG right here. The difference is when you upload an SVG, you don't clean it up or anything. It's just there. If it is a good quality SVG, it will be in the sections that you need it to be as far as color is concerned. If it is an SVG and it is not separated, you can't ungroup it. That is a poor quality SVG, and if you buy them from Etsy, just be careful. Make sure you read reviews. I do have an Etsy store. I sell lots of SVGs. I test cut every single one that I have. I make sure they are easy to separate and use. I don't know that a lot of Etsy store owners do that. No shade to anyone, but it's just something you want to make sure that you're careful with when purchasing off of another website. Large signs. This is our last question for the day. Large signs. These are really fun, but also not always the easiest, but super fun to do. So most of the time when you see a really big sign, they're stenciled. They're not actually all vinyl. The cutting, or they're done with a cutting machine that can cut larger vinyl. Cutting on a Cricut, you can cut up to 23.5 inches long or 11.5 inches wide. So if you want to do something that's really big, so let's just use hello again, I don't know. And we'll just leave this font because I just don't feel like figuring it out. So let's say that we want to do a 36-inch wide sign. Excuse me. And I picked the wrong spacing. Hang on one second. We want to do a 36-inch wide sign, and we'll just change the letter spacing. We're going to space the letters down a bit. That way we can get a better look. Oops, that's way too much. This font's kind of hard to play with. All right, there we go. So here we're going to do a 36-inch wide sign. And it will fit in the parameters as far as its width. But see how they're connected in certain spots? Let's just pretend they're all connected. So this is really big. Let me go scroll out a bit for you guys. So obviously your Cricut can't cut this whole thing at once. So what you can do is you either ungroup and place each letter separately, or you can slice it. But in order to slice, you need to make sure that your product is one piece. So I'm just going to make this smaller really quick just so we can see it on our screen. So once you have it, let's say this size, right? You're going to weld your word, which is right down here at the bottom. And what we do is we take a shape. I just use a square. And my square doesn't want to show up. There they are. Found them. So your square, you just cover up part of your design. Now, I always try to cover it up so it's only covering like a letter, but in this one, especially if your letters are going to connect, you're going to have to cut at a connection, which is fine, but you're slicing it off. You want to get rid of the gray slice and the square. And now you have two pieces. Depending on how large your sign is going to be, you may need to make 3 pieces. But what we're going to do is select both of them, and we're going to make it again 36 inches wide. We select both so that it sizes them both at the exact same time so that they are the same size. So now what we're going to do is just push this back together, make sure it still fits, check our sizing. Again, this is kind of a pain, guys, I'm not going to lie. So I zoom in, I check my size on that, I check my size on this. It's going to cut just fine. We can get rid of this square, we don't need it, and we go ahead and click Make It. Now it's going to put us on to 2 different mats because we have one long one that takes up almost the whole 24-inch mat, and then the small one that takes up just one of the small mats. You just, basically it's all just slicing. But again, most of the time they're stencils and you don't see the lines that way. So keep that in mind if you're going to make one of these. We're just going to hit OK and cancel out of this. So that is how you make a large sign. Now I will have some tutorials, and I actually already do have some tutorials with larger than matte signs. But again, it is some piecing together and things like that. I am going to do a larger than matte cardstock in this new coming year. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun with this Q&A. I hope to do some more of these as the year continues. We are starting Wedding Wednesdays this Wednesday. I'm so excited. Our first tutorial is going to come out. I'm really excited for that. I also want to thank you guys for all your support over this last year. It has been a joy to teach you guys, to help you learn. I've learned a lot along the way as well. I am so proud to say that I have 14,000 plus subscribers in under a year. So that's really exciting. I never started this thinking that I would become a tutorial maker. I made one video trying to help someone learn how to download a font, and here we are almost a year later. So if you guys feel frustrated and feel like, oh, I just don't understand this machine, don't give up, because once you start picking up the small stuff, the big stuff comes along too. And I'm always happy to help you guys, so feel free, reach out, whether it's in the comments. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, on my Etsy store. Don't hesitate to reach out. I will always try to help you. If I cannot help you, I will direct you to someone who can. There are still things I don't know how to do, so just keep that in mind. And there are still projects, guys, that I fail on. I just failed on one yesterday trying to make a tutorial. I gave up. I had to walk away. It happens. So just keep that in mind, guys. I'm so excited to have you all have joined our Cricut family. If you guys have questions, please let them, put them in the comments below, because I want to answer those for you. I want to help you guys. If you're looking for any tutorials, I will definitely make those for you. Just put those in the comments below. I hope you guys have a wonderful and happy new year. 2019 shall be a prosperous year for everyone. I hope you all have a great time and happy crafting. And little Miss Magnolia, though asleep, I will wake her up for you guys so she can say goodbye. I've been so good. We hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful new year. Happy crafting.